February 24, 1991. After 38 days of relentless air bombardment, 500,000 coalition troops stood ready at the Saudi-Kuwaiti border. What happened next would redefine modern warfare and shock the world. In just 100 hours, one of the largest tank battles since World War II would be fought, an entire army would be routed, and Kuwait would be liberated. To understand Desert Storm, we need to go back 7 months. On August 2, 1990, Iraqi forces under Saddam Hussein invaded Kuwait, a small but oil-rich neighbor. Within hours, Iraqi tanks rolled through Kuwait City. Saddam's elite Republican Guard controlled the country, and over 100,000 Iraqi troops began digging in along the Saudi border. The world responded with outrage. The United Nations demanded withdrawal. When Saddam refused, President George H. W. Bush assembled an unprecedented coalition of 35 nations. Operation Desert Shield began. The largest American military deployment since Vietnam. Over 6 months, coalition forces poured into Saudi Arabia. American, British, French, Arab, and other allied troops trained in the desert. The coalition commander, General Norman Schwarzkopf, developed a bold plan. While the world expected a direct assault into Kuwait, Schwarzkopf had something far more ambitious in mind. By mid-January 1991, the coalition had amassed over 700,000 troops facing approximately 650,000 Iraqi soldiers. Saddam's forces occupied formidable defensive positions, trenches, minefields, bunkers, and oil-filled ditches designed to ignite into walls of flame. This is the story of Operation Desert Storm's ground campaign, a lightning war that military strategists still study today. A conflict where technology, strategy, and overwhelming force combined to achieve what many thought would take months of bloody fighting. To understand Desert Storm, we need to go back 7 months. On August 2, 1990, Iraqi forces under Saddam Hussein invaded Kuwait, a small but oil-rich neighbor. Within hours, Iraqi tanks rolled through Kuwait City. Saddam's elite Republican Guard controlled the country, and over 100,000 Iraqi troops began digging in along the Saudi border. The world responded with outrage. The United Nations demanded withdrawal. When Saddam refused, President George H. W. Bush assembled an unprecedented coalition of 35 nations. Operation Desert Shield began, the largest American military deployment since Vietnam. Over 6 months, coalition forces poured into Saudi Arabia. American, British, French, Arab, and other allied troops trained in the desert. The coalition commander, General Norman Schwarzkopf, developed a bold plan. While the world expected a direct assault into Kuwait, Schwarzkopf had something far more ambitious in mind. By mid-January 1991, the coalition had amassed over 700,000 troops facing approximately 650,000 Iraqi soldiers. Saddam's forces occupied formidable defensive positions, trenches, minefields, bunkers, and oil-filled ditches designed to ignite into walls of flame. January 17, 1991. Operation Desert Storm began not with tanks, but with the night sky lighting up over Baghdad. The air campaign introduced the world to a new era of precision warfare. Stealth fighters, cruise missiles, and smart bombs struck with unprecedented accuracy. For 38 days and nights, coalition aircraft flew over 100,000 sorties. They systematically dismantled Iraq's command and control, destroyed supply lines, and hammered Iraqi ground forces. B-52 bombers carpet-bombed Iraqi positions. Apache helicopters hunted tanks in the darkness. The goal wasn't just destruction. It was to blind, isolate, and demoralize the Iraqi military before a single coalition ground soldier crossed the border. Iraqi troops in Kuwait sat under this onslaught with dwindling supplies, no air cover, and severed communications with Baghdad. Desertion rates climbed. Morale plummeted. By late February, the Iraqi army was a shell of its former strength, though still a formidable force on paper. The question everyone asked, when would the ground war begin? And how costly would it be? February 24, 4 a.m. The ground war began with a deception. U.S. Marines and Arab coalition forces attacked directly into Kuwait from the south, exactly where Iraq expected the main assault. Iraqi commanders rushed reinforcements to meet this threat. But this was a feint. Hundreds of miles to the west, the real knockout punch was already in motion. Two entire U.S. corps, the 18 Airborne Corps and 7 Corps, had secretly repositioned in one of history's largest flanking maneuvers. This was Schwarzkopf's left hook, and it was about to cut off the entire Iraqi army in Kuwait. The U.S. 7 Corps, led by Lieutenant General Frederick Franks, included the 1st and 3rd Armored Divisions and the 1st Infantry Division. Their mission, sweep through the Iraqi desert, wheel east and destroy the Republican Guard, Iraq's best troops. To the north, the 18 Airborne Corps, including the 101st Airborne and the famed 24th Infantry Division, raced even deeper into Iraq, cutting Highway 8. The main escape route from Kuwait to Baghdad. The speed was breathtaking. The 24th Infantry Division advanced over 250 miles in the first day, one of the fastest armored advances in military history. Iraqi units were bypassed, surrounded, or destroyed before they could react. Meanwhile, in Kuwait itself, the direct assault also succeeded far beyond expectations. The supposedly impregnable Iraqi defenses crumbled. Marines breached minefields and trenches within hours. The vaunted oil fire trenches proved ineffective. By the end of day 1, coalition forces were racing toward Kuwait City from multiple directions. February 26 and 27 saw the war's fiercest fighting. The Republican Guard, Iraq's elite armored divisions, finally engaged the American heavy armor. Near a place called 73 Easting, the U.S. 2nd Armored Cavalry Regiment crashed into the Iraqi Tawakalna Division. What followed demonstrated the technological gulf between the two armies. American M1 Abrams tanks and Bradley fighting vehicles, equipped with thermal sights and superior armor, could see and kill Iraqi T-72 tanks before the Iraqis even knew they were under attack. Engagements that would have taken hours in previous wars lasted minutes. The Battle of 73 Easting lasted just 23 minutes. American forces destroyed over 160 Iraqi armored vehicles and captured thousands of soldiers while suffering minimal casualties themselves. Similar scenes played out across the battlefield as American armored divisions systematically dismantled the Republican Guard. The Highway of Death became the war's most striking image. As Iraqi forces fled Kuwait City loaded with plunder, coalition aircraft caught them on the highway north. The result was a miles-long graveyard of destroyed vehicles, a stark testament to coalition air superiority. By February 27, Kuwait City was liberated. Kuwaiti citizens poured into the streets in celebration. The entire Iraqi command structure in Kuwait had collapsed. Tens of thousands of Iraqi soldiers surrendered. The Republican Guard was in full retreat toward Basra. February 28, 100 hours after the ground war began, President Bush declared a ceasefire. The decision was controversial then and remains debated today. Coalition forces had achieved every stated objective. Kuwait was liberated, Iraqi military power was shattered, and Saddam's ability to threaten his neighbors was destroyed. But Saddam Hussein himself remained in power. The road to Baghdad lay open, but Bush chose not to take it. The reasons were complex. The UN mandate only authorized Kuwait's liberation, the coalition might fracture if objectives expanded, and occupying Iraq could lead to a costly quagmire. The casualty figures told a lopsided story. The coalition suffered fewer than 300 combat deaths during the entire war. Iraqi casualties numbered in the tens of thousands, with estimates varying widely. Over 80,000 Iraqi soldiers were captured. The 100-hour ground war of Desert Storm achieved a seemingly impossible victory. It showcased American military technological superiority, vindicated the all-volunteer military, and seemed to erase the shadow of Vietnam. By God, we've kicked the Vietnam syndrome once and for all, President Bush declared. But history shows the story didn't end there. Saddam remained in power for another 12 years. The sanctions and no-fly zones that followed the war never quite finished what Desert Storm started. And in 2003, American forces would return to Iraq under very different circumstances. Nevertheless, those 100 hours in February 1991 remain a pivotal moment in military history, a campaign studied in war colleges worldwide as a masterclass in planning, execution, and the application of overwhelming force. Desert Storm proved that wars could be won quickly and decisively. What it couldn't answer was whether military victory alone could solve the complex political problems that follow. What did you think of this incredible military operation? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And if you want to learn more about modern military history, subscribe and hit the notification bell.